Okay, hello and welcome. This is Silicon Valley Impact on TALRadio with Roger Royse. Each week we interview one of the movers and shakers here in Silicon Valley that's doing great things in social impact, philanthropy, or charity. And today we have Purvi Shah from Kids and Art, Healing Pediatric Cancer Through the Arts in Burlingame. Thank you and welcome, Purvi. Welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me, Roger.
So I guess, first of all, tell us a little, you're the founder and CEO of Kids and Art. It's a 501c3 organization. And I know a little bit just from the name as to what you do, but maybe you could give us a better picture as to what the organization is and what it does.
Sure. So Kids and Art Foundation primarily focuses on healing pediatric patients through art, using the power of the arts and creativity, mainly to mitigate stress, anxiety, and trauma that comes through, just the fact of dealing with treatment and then going through treatment. So our focus is finding creative outlets for pediatric patients, siblings, and caregivers to really understand how to go through this new normal that they find themselves in.
I bet you've been busy these last couple of years with COVID, huh?
It has been busy. Busy is an understatement. Yes, we had to think on our feet and figure out how do we take something that's so tactile and in person, because that's how our programs were, and work with our families who are very immunocompromised. Means this is a population that is highly immunocompromised regardless, and add COVID on top of that. So that was challenging, definitely.
Yeah, I'll bet. So what you do, it's a form of art therapy, I gather, but you go even beyond that. It sounds like you deal with cancer patients primarily. Is that right?
That is correct. We deal with pediatric and young adult cancer patients, and now we've added pediatric patients going through any kind of critical medical condition. So yes.
Can you give me an example of maybe what the therapy would look like, if you can call it that? What would you do for a cancer patient? Would they actually create some art? Would you give them some art? How does it work?
So let me just correct. We don't call it therapy because art therapy comes with its own kind of, let's say, checks and balances. And when I started the program, I really did not want to call it therapy because the children are already going through one appointment and another and being fixed. And I wanted to make sure that our program really let them be in charge and in control of their narrative and their storytelling, and use the power of arts to just say whatever they really feel like in whatever format they want to. So for example, we will pair them up with an artist. The artist comes with an idea, but we really let the patient, the child, take it wherever they want. There's no left to right for a line, there's no top to bottom, it's really free flowing, and then encourage them in whichever way they think they want to move forward. But what's fascinating is our artist then takes something that the child created and then goes off and creates something of their own. So they are being inspired by the child instead of the child being inspired by the artist. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand. So you give them a little help, basically. You just assist them in creating some art, and they use that as an outlet.
Absolutely.
So I understand you're based in Burlingame here in Northern California, but your programs are all over the country and all over the world. Isn't that right?
We are all over the country now. That is our COVID silver lining, if I may use that term, because before of COVID, we were only in Stanford and UCSF, Benioff Children's Hospital. We were in their waiting rooms and working inpatient and on one-on-one bedside. But when COVID happened, we had to move everything online. And now we do have patients from 22 different hospitals coming and creating with us in our online art workshops. And we also took what we were doing in the waiting room and converted into art kits. So now we have art kits being shipped out to 5 hospitals across the country, so that children who are in treatment get our art kit while they are in their treatment room or going through any procedures. They can get an art package from us in the hospital. So
I see. So they get a package from you that gets delivered to the hospital, and you'll visit them just online through some sort of telecommunications.
That is correct, yes.
I see. And you say that things have gotten more busy or less busy because of COVID?
It has definitely become very busy because, going from supporting 2 hospitals to having 5 hospitals that are being supported right now, and then kids coming from 22 different, treatment centers, that has definitely gotten very busy for us. We are assembling a lot of art kits and shipping them out.
We talked a little bit before the break about some of the research that's been done, and I understand there's a report that just came out on the effect of arts on healthcare. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So just last year, we came up with a report, Arts in Healthcare. One of our parents who came to Kids in Art because her son was diagnosed with cancer, and she used a lot of art, different kinds of art in her healing modalities just on her own, and she's an occupational therapist. She decided to do her clinical studies and decided to take Kids in Art as her research. And this report really is eye-opening, not for us because we know that art is healing, but it's very helpful to really tell people and make them understand some basic things that, what is the reason? Why do we need the, modalities of art? Because what we've learned, and I'm going to quote a few things, is that frequent and continual stress experiences such as, cancer have an impact on early cognitive development. They alter the psychosocial response to stress. They contribute to behavioral issues, and they can also affect long-term mental and physical health. So, participation in creation of art from a discipline chosen by a child allows them to have an engaging, purposeful, normalized childhood experience. Furthermore, creative arts that align with the patient's interests allow for the integration of personally motivating activity in the restricted hospital environment. I think just these two facts in itself really capture the need for us to think at a higher level and think about the whole child in treatment and not just try and treat the diagnosis. And that's really why I'm excited that we have this research in our hands, that we can go out there and educate people who are still naysayers. I still get people who come to me and say, art is a nice to have. It's not a must have. Why should we, spend money or in that, or support an organization that's focused on art instead of someone who's focused on research, because research is going to cure. Correct? So we still have that kind of thinking, and I'm really excited that this research will help us have a much deeper conversation about the whole child in treatment instead of just the diagnosis. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're kind of going at a little bit different aspect of the disease, the mental health and wellness component as well, I see. So I noticed from your website that you do a lot of events. Maybe they're all online right now here in early 2022, but can you tell us about some of the events that you have planned coming up and how people can participate?
Absolutely. So last year we did a fascinating workshop with an author who wrote a children's book on G's Bend quilts. They're from Alabama, and I'm sure some people will think about this. These quilts were made by African American women who were, enslaved, and this was their way of writing stories, like in fabrics, right? So they were coming up with their stories in quilts to keep themselves warm, but it was also their way of narrating a story that they couldn't tell the world. So the quilts were a story. So I got fascinated when that author reached out to me and shared the book, and I said, our patients have stories to tell, and it would be fascinating to have them tell it in a different way. So we created the quilts. We had lots of people create quilt squares, and now we have the final quilt. And excitingly, the San Jose Quilt Museum is displaying our quilt. It just got hung at the museum. So people can go to the San Jose Quilt and Textile Museum from January 17 to March 27th, and they can see the quilt in display. I call it a quilt of coming together. Actually, we all as an organization are calling it coming together because it really took pieces from all over the United States to make this quilt come together. It's I call it a testament of the kids' power to really, make you forget that these are kids going through cancer when you look at it.
Yeah, wow, really interesting. Well, great work that you're doing. So, Purvi, tell us a little bit about some of the programs, especially the corporate and business programs that your organization sponsors that allows businesses to get involved in doing something good for the community through kids and art.
Sure. So we have a program called Amazing Teams. The name Amazing comes from my son's name was Amay, and his friends always called him Amazing Amay. My son passed away, and we decided to coin the term Amazing for all the programs that we have at Kids and Art. So this program really takes what our patients create in our workshops, and we have developed it in a way that adult teams like teams and corporate teams that want to get together use art making as a morale boosting team building event. So our artist will work with a team online, of course. Right now, once we are able to go in person, we can do it in person as well, and we ship all the materials to them, so they get a beautiful gift in a package with all the materials, and we lead them through the art workshop. And at the end, we hold a really special place together to talk about the art, but in a very different way, maybe not in a way that they're used to. And that's been something that we started last year, again to COVID. And that's a program that I would love to have more people take benefit of, for sure.
Interesting. Well, good. Well, folks out there in Radio Land, if you have a company or if you're in business, here's a way that you can get involved and help do something good for the community.
One thing,
So,
Roger, to add to that, that the funds that we get from that directly help us send more art kits to kids that are in hospitals. So that's the direct impact, because you brought that up in the beginning. That so it's a very impact driven, team building, that any team that comes and creates with us, those funds go directly towards creating art kits for our patients.
good, good, got it. Well, along those lines, if somebody does want to help, it looks to me from your website that you're willing to take volunteers or maybe even looking for volunteers. How do people get involved with your organization?
So we love volunteers, of course. Right now, because of COVID, we can have few volunteers in our office. Again, most of the work that we do is for our immunocompromised patients. So we do have people helping us from far, writing thank you notes, creating, assembling our art kits. So we have lots of needs for buying all the products for the art kits. So we have teams that will, run a fundraiser, and then they'll go to Amazon Smile wish list that we have and purchase all the supplies that we need and ship it to us, so that we can then, wipe everything down and then create the art kits. So that's been the best way right now during COVID that people can help us. I know teams are remote as well, so they can't really get together and put things together. So, but they can definitely create the fundraisers and go buy supplies for us, or do mini packages and then ship them to us.
Okay, great, great. Well, good opportunities there. And of course, people can go to your website, I assume, at kidsandart.org. And that's spelled out kidsandart.org if they want to get involved, if they want to shop, if they want to make a contribution or see some of your research or some of the things that you're doing. So, what's the next big thing that's coming up for Kids in Art that you might want to announce here? You've talked about some of your events. What's your next big project or undertaking in 2022?
So the big project that is coming up is, for lack of better word, it's a subscription art kits. So we have a lot of children that get our art kits at the hospital, right? But we have a lot of patients that are not in the hospital. We are creating art kits where patients can come directly to our site and then get, a whole, then they don't have to keep coming back to us. They will get a year's worth of support from us through these art kits. And that's another opportunity for companies. If they want to sponsor, they can get their logos on these art kits. They can also get the logos on the hospital art kits. So that's something I'm very excited about. And then the last thing is, we got a really nice technology grant last year. So we were able to purchase quite a few iPads that we are going to be able to send to our different hospitals. But there's an opportunity for technology based artwork that we can do. And so if there are any people out there who like to merge art and tech together, this is the time for them to come and share their expertise and help us create some beautiful ways to share it with our patients.
Yeah, well, we're in the right part of the country for art and technology, anything in technology. Does it make a difference that you're here in Silicon Valley? Have you been close to the big tech companies? Has that helped?
I wish I could say it has helped. I would say being in technology land and being an arts based organization, I have had to prove myself more and more because I get the question and I get it a lot that art is a nice to have, not a must have. Why should we invest in an organization that is so focused just on art instead of focusing on someone that's doing research so that they can cure the patient? So I would say there are the pros and cons of being in an environment where it's very tech focused. But on the other hand, we have received some phenomenal support from companies and tech focused, board members and advisors. So very, very generous and very grateful for that.
Okay, well, that's good. That's good. So it's a little bit of a mixed bag, I guess.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is Roger Royse with Silicon Valley Impact on TALRadio. We've been talking with Purvi Shah. She's the CEO and founder of the nonprofit 501c3 organization Kids and Art, which assists pediatric patients, children primarily, healing through the arts. So I want to thank you, Purvi, for being here today. And one last question: how do people find you if they want to learn more?
Just go to kidsandart.org. We are on Twitter, we are on Instagram, we are on Facebook, we are on LinkedIn. They can just go to a website and they'll find all the information over there.
Okay, that's great. So thanks again, Roger Royce, TALRadio, and we will see you next time.